Okay, let's do this. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Hey everybody, how you doing? I hope you had a great weekend. I know that I did. And you know what? Without wasting any time, I think we're going to go right away to the painting. So, like usual, we're going to start off and see what we did last Friday when we were here. We did quite a bit of things. We started off by doing highlights on the little leaves. So we did that, and then we added a few more leaves with starting off with a white background just to find a certain movement, a certain balance that I thought was missing. So we had to put down that white first coat, and then after that we had to put the two other coats on top of that, which is what we did. After that, what did we do? We put in some highlights, the black outline around the heart, and then we put some more details on these little leaves. We put some darker details at one point. On the darker leaves, we put a lighter detail. And then eventually we did some black outlines on the two plants, the one that's up here on the top behind the heart, and the other one which is right down by where my nuclear head is, my Zen Rebel with the mask, and we did that as well. Once that was done, the other leaves and the paints were dry, and we were able to go back and do the final details, the lighter colors and the darker colors on the other leaves. And then to top off the whole thing, we finished by doing the first coat of the eyeball. So that is basically what we did last Friday. What we are going to do today, we are going to continue immediately, I would say. We are going to finish off the yellow eyeball, put a second coat, very light one, and while that is drying, we are going to put the darker highlights on these leaves. And then we're basically going to do the outline if this is dry, finish off this nuclear head, and then we're going to have to decide if we're going to want or not an outline around these little leaves. When I walked in the studio this morning, I thought it looked pretty good the way it was, maybe without the outlines. But then again, I'm not sure. We have time to worry about that as we go on. So I am going to get the paint ready right away, the yellow paint right here. And that should take just a few minutes. It's always the first coat that is the hardest. The second coat really doesn't make much of... Woohoo! Well, excuse me. There we go. We are having thunderstorms today. And I must say tomorrow is the 14th of July. It's Bastille Day and the beginning of the French Revolution. And here in Nice, it seems to rain every year for that event. So what paintbrush are we going to use? I think, oops, this one looks like a good candidate. Just grab a little bit of water, put it in here. I'm going to come over here. Yes, let's change cameras and take a look at this. I'm going to move to the side because I have the fan right behind there, which is what made me sneeze, and I don't want it blowing in the microphone. So, and today I'm trying a new setup with my streaming program, which is called OBS, Streamlabs OBS. So, hopefully we won't have too many problems. I'm going to bring this baby up. Maybe zoom in a little bit on the eyeball, and I'm going to put this second coat right here. It goes pretty quickly. You have the right size brush. And hopefully with the fan, this will be dry in a matter of seconds. And here I don't think I need any. So, very good. Let's go back here. So, as I said, we are going to do some outlines on these guys. So I'll get that paint ready right away. And that shouldn't take very long. Let me get this palette together here. So this is the kind of thing I love showing off because it goes to show how acrylic paints are really just like plastic. Here I grabbed a little bit of this paint. You can see that it's nice and thick right there. So I just grabbed a corner and I'm just pulling it off little by little by going around the cap of my paint can. And as you can see, this is really just thick plastic. And then I have a brand new, all clean cap because acrylics doesn't really stick either to glass or it doesn't stick to plastic. But on materials or wood or most surfaces, acrylics are awesome. They stick very well. And unfortunately on clothes, a little too well. So I'm going to go back here and get the paint ready. So we said green. And I'm going to just darken this green a little bit with, I think, some black paint. I just suddenly had an idea because I had bought these tubes of paint that are already dark green. So I'm wondering if I shouldn't discover really what this is. Maybe I'll use this. What do they call this? Opaque sap green. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm going to try that rather than my little mixture, which I usually do. I'm not going to put this green too far because I have a feeling like today we are going to basically right away get to this frame, at least the background of the frame done today. And last week when I was doing my stream, I didn't realize that tomorrow, Tuesday, 14th of July, was a holiday in France. So I was invited to a couple of parties and barbecues, even though it might rain. So I'm not sure if I'm going to come in and do the streaming, decide to party, or am I going to be serious and come in and work? So this looks like it is the right color, the right size paintbrush, I should say. And this is really a very dark, yes, a dark microphone. No, this is what I want to show you. A dark green. But I'm wondering if this isn't going to be really a little bit too dark for what I wanted to do. So I think maybe I will add a little lighter green to this and see if we can't come up with a happy middle ground. So let me go back to this desk right here. And see if I can't put in a different kind of green to make this a little lighter. I don't think that's going to help. So I'm not sure this is going to help either. I don't think that is going to be the right color. How about this green here? I'm not too sure either. It is lighter. Maybe this will work. So I'm going to try this color, which I'll put here on the side. I really don't need that much. So I'm going to come back here and show you basically what I'm doing. I'm going to mix these two greens together. As you can see, there's the lighter one right here and the darker one. So I'm going to just darken the lighter one. This is an extremely dark green there, that sap green, which probably would be perfect to do outlines rather than use black paint. But for what I want to do today, not quite what I'm looking for. But I have a feeling once we mix these two together, it should come out. So let me bring this back to the canvas, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you right there. And these are the leaves we want to change. So I think this will do the trick. Now all I need to do basically is just add a little more water to it. I have some water right here. So that's pretty handy. I like getting my paint so it's like a cream texture. So it just flows nicely. Painting for me is all about movement. Movement on the canvas and movement with my arms and hands and fingers. Get everything to glide nicely, as though it was some sort of a mystical ballet. So, like I said, I don't need that much, and this seems to be pretty good right there. I'm going to pull up the camera so we can zoom in a little bit. I am actually going to move the camera over a little bit to the side like this, because I am going to grab, oops, there we go, wow, woohoo, I'm going to grab my chair and I'm going to set my chair down there. I'm going to step back for a second and take a look again to make sure that this is going to be the right stuff. And the best way to know is actually just to do it. So I'm going to sit down and I'm going to try this on one leaf. And if we like the result, we'll leave it. So let's try this guy here. Okay, I think that looks just kind of what I had in mind. So I'm going to continue. Very good. There you go. Okay. Very nice. Gliding on beautifully. Make that a little bigger. Very good. Just one more leaf to go right here in the corner. Obviously, you can't see what I'm doing. So let me move this camera back a little bit. There we go. Actually, all I had is one last leaf to do, which is this one right here. So, oh no, I guess there's this guy here. Oopa. There we go. Maybe just have him come up there like, well. Okay, let me get this chair out of the way. Don't really need that. So, how does all this look? From that perspective, doesn't look bad either, I guess, no? So, got these leaves done, done. Okay. Now what? Let me step back here again and kind of bring this all out. Okay. Very good. Again, this is just about dry as well. So we can probably go ahead and do this head. And anyways, I entitled this stream a one-man show because it's true. This has been, it's like I think my 5th or 6th week streaming, and it has been an absolute pleasure. It has been awesome. I mean, I've enjoyed every second of it, but it has been a major challenge as well. I mean, first of all, there's the painting aspect of it, as you might all know. I've been doing this in painting forever, and of course, I have to think about the canvas size and the color scheme that I'm going to be using, what kind of a theme I want in my painting. But when I'm streaming, all these decisions that I have to do of what color of a leaf or what kind of detail I'm going to put, all that has to be, those decisions have to come on the fly. I mean, I have no time to ponder on these paintings. I have to constantly think about what size paintbrush I want to use. And all that, in fact, for a painter who's used to working alone and has time to meditate on his painting. And I really don't have that much time when I'm streaming. And meditation is, while you're painting, is one of the most important things, especially for a painter like myself, because I'm a symbolist painter. I consider myself a symbolist painter where I want my paintings, if possible, to be profound. I would like them to have a meaning, to be like a Zen koan, if possible. I just don't want to use colors like that. I want there to be some substance to the painting as well as being very colorful. But at the same time, I don't paint for an intellectual elite. I don't paint for the Illuminati. No, on the contrary, I paint for almost everyone. I myself grew up the first 5 years of my life in Karachi, Pakistan, with my folks. I've been around the world like twice. I've been to over 30, I think, 2 countries. I lived in South America for several years. I've met a lot of people that probably didn't know how to read or write, but who were the most generous, had the biggest heart, and were full of love that I've ever met in this world. And I paint for those people. I paint for people who cannot read or write, but yet can grasp the symbol of what I'm painting. So this is the most important reason. Painting is the most important reason why I come into the studio every day. It is ma raison d'être. It is my reason of being. It's what makes me happy. But it's also a challenge with the streaming, because not only do I paint and do the stream, but I make these movies as well. And these movies are also somewhat of a challenge because they are not YouTube, techno-oriented, time-lapse videos. I make them as though they were court-métrage, short films, basically. And these movies, I first made them for the buyer of my paintings. Like that, the person who bought a painting, he could see how that painting was done, how it came to be. And as well, they can see what's happening in the studio during the 2-3 weeks that I'm doing the painting. And I also decided to make these movies for my children, because I think it would be interesting for them when they are my age and I am dead, for them to go back and to see who and what I was like 30, 40 years before they are my age, for example. So, and also I think maybe like who knows if this medium, I'm not sure this kind of technology is going to exist in 100 years from now. But let's say it does. I think it would be interesting for other artists to see how a modest artist from 100 years back painted in his studio. So these are reasons why I wanted to make these movies. But they, of course, come in with a certain challenge. For example, I have to be a cameraman. I have to, when I record these movies, I have to think of where I'm going to set the cameras. What angle am I going to use? When to shut off the recording and when to turn it on. I also become a script writer. I don't want these movies to be too boring, so I look for new themes, new ideas. So I don't want these movies, of course, since it's always me painting on this wall, I don't want it to be too repetitious. So I try to ingest some humor in there, or I try to put my friends in these movies, or as I just mentioned, my son or my children in these movies as well. And then there's the editing part. I have to become an editor with these movies. And therefore I have to use and learn the program appropriate for that kind of a job. And I use Vegas Sony Pro, which is a pretty hefty program. Of course, now that I've been using it for so long, it seems fairly easy to use. But still, to do the editing, I have to, again, think about the cameras, the length of each shot, what to cut off, what not to cut off. My first movies were like 12 to 14 minutes long. Now I've learned, after 8-9 years of doing them, how to trim off the fat and make these movies 4 to 5 minutes long without having to use time lapse, etc. And then another problem about making these movies is the music. I have to choose the right music that goes with the scene. Then I have these problems of the copyright laws. How do I show my movies without hurting everybody in these copyright laws about the music? Then the length of the music. How long should it be? So these are other little problems that come with making these movies. And then the lighting. I have to think about where to put the lighting so that I don't have to rework every shot because it's a little too yellow or whatever. So these are all the little challenges that come with making the movie. And then, of course, the streaming part. A lot of challenges coming with that, of course. Now, as you probably noticed on YouTube, there are a lot of streamers out there, and they are all mostly about games, but there are a lot of tutorial streams. And they are all basically done in the editing room afterwards. They're flawless. They cut out all the mistakes before they put them on air. Of course, when you're streaming, you don't have that luxury. So I have to learn, just like when making the movie and editing, I had to learn the program. As I mentioned earlier today, I use SLOBS, which is OBS, or more or less Streamlabs OBS, a combination of two open source programs that are terrific. Then I have to decide as I'm streaming what camera to use. You know, I have camera number 2, camera number 1, my 2 HD cameras, and then I have the webcam in front of me. So I have to learn when and how to ping pong back and forth between these 3 cameras. Then I have to think, of course, which camera is the one that's live? Which one is the one that you are looking at me through what lens? And then I have to think about, am I obstructing the lens? Am I standing in front of the camera or not? So I have to think also about the microphone. Is it too high? Is it too low? I have to think about turning it on. I did do a stream once where I talked for several minutes and forgot to turn on the microphone. So, and then I have to think about this fan. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, when I mix up the paints and to show you what I'm doing, the fan is right behind. It might blow in the microphone, and that's kind of annoying if you're a spectator. I can understand that. And then, of course, I still have this problem about the music because of the copyright laws. What music can I use? What music can't I use? Is it too loud? Is the music too low when I'm talking? These are little details that I'm working out on a week-to-week basis. Then I have my keyboard shortcuts that I have to memorize. And they are so practical because I have them way over here. And they just permit me to bounce back from like one camera to the other without having to go to my computer to switch over. So that's really practical as well. And then there's what you just noticed, camera in camera like this that I just did, which also I have to remember to take off so I'm not standing in front of the lens. So there are all these little details that I have to think about. Not only that, but I also have to think about what am I going to say? I have to think about a subject to talk about so that you're not bored during these long periods where that's extremely repetitious. And then, of course, I have to rise up to the problem of the technology. I just can't come in, turn on the cameras, turn on the computer, and boom, go live. It doesn't work that way. That is an invitation to disaster. I mean, that is an invitation for the Murphy's Law to come in and to screw everything up. So I have all these little challenges going on at the same time. The painting, the movie, the streaming, and mind you, I am not complaining, not one bit. I love the challenge. I think it's awesome. It's great. I'm just sharing with you my experience because this is what this channel is all about. You know, it's a very informal channel. I mean, there are probably 0 or 3 viewers maximum. So it's really you in my studio, me and you, and that's it. So I just wanted to share all this with you before returning to the painting. I'm sure the eyeball now is completely dry. So I am going to try to finish all this off right now, and then probably we'll move on to the frame, I would think. Okay, so in the meantime, I'm going to get the black paint going. First of all, I am going to come over here and grab some water. Oh, because I talk so much. I feel like I'm a big professor. giving a lecture, but whatever. Okay, that felt good, that tasted good, and let's get back to our painting. So that's one mistake, wrong camera. This is the right one. This is the right paintbrush. When I was doing radio at Vermont Public Radio years back in the 80s, they told me when you make a mistake, never admit it on air. Never mention your mistake, because out of the 100 viewers listening, there's probably only one of them that noticed the error. So if you tell them and you apologize for a mistake, you're only bringing attention to that mistake. And they say, no, don't do it, don't apologize. Anyways, so let me get my little palette cleaned off here. Yes, there you go. That looks pretty good. I'm going to get this black paint on there. Come on, baby. Wonderful. Awesome. Came out of everywhere except from the central hole. Hey, yeah. I don't think there is a show that I've done where I don't bitch about these kind of cans, man. I can't help it. I just think that the guys who invented these things, I mean, look at that. How are you supposed to get the bottom out of this kind of a hole? Really drives me crazy. Others, they were smart enough. They made these cans large enough you can scrape to the bottom. I know I mention this all the time, but it's so annoying every time to have to struggle, get paint all over your hands because you're digging at the bottom of that jar. Okay, now this is one of my crucial things, is finding the right paintbrush for the job. And I do have one or two that are kind of my favorites. I would say one of these two. These are kind of my two major brushes that I use. And I'm not sure for here which is going to be the right one. I have a feeling the larger one, and I'm going to try that. I'm going to leave the camera right here because we are going to be tackling that part right there. All I have to do is just switch over to here, which is pretty cool. And I'll keep this aside in case I realize that this first brush is too big. Let me get the water out of there. Very good. Let me get the hair out of there. Very good. Done there as well. Let's put the right amount of water right away. Because, again, I want all this to just glide. I just want all this paint to go down as though I was using a magic marker. But I want the paint to still stay very opaque. I want to avoid putting 2 or 3 coats. There we go, just working this all out. I could go to camera number 1 and show you, but quite frankly, it's not that interesting, just making black paint. So I am going to step back over here, take a look. Okay, I guess I'm ready to tackle that baby, so let's go for the close-up. Let me get number 1 out of there. Very good. I'm going to start recording with this guy as well. Bring it in just a whisker. There we go. Very good. Okay. Well, that part went pretty good. I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to head on up with this next part right here. Get that started. Very good. Okay. And I feel like I have to put a little more paint. This seems like a little too liquidish. Doesn't have the thickness that I like. So I'm going to take care of that right away by just adding a little bit. Just like a little bit more of this paint, and I'm going to work it in again. Just like that. Again, this is not very interesting. I'll bring down the camera anyways. Just making a little black paint there. Actually, I can stop recording now too. Okay, let's continue. And I am going to push the record button as well. I probably won't use the whole thing, but okay. Very good. There we go. Okay. So, do a step back for a second. Stop recording. Take a look where we're at. Okay, very good. Now I see there's a little fluctuation there. Instead of insisting with this big brush, I think it'd be a lot wiser just to hold back and then with a smaller brush bring the pretty good into perfection. So we'll do that when that is dry. I am going to put the paint back in its can. The prices of paint and materials today, you just can't waste anything. I'll get all that back in the can right there. There we go. There. Waste not, want not. Very good. Okay, let's make some room. Put that over here. So, now what? Now what do we want to do? Now, last Monday, I made a correction on the black outline of this heart. And I said I would go back and put some gold again in this quest for perfection which doesn't exist. So I'm going to do that right now. It's only going to take a few seconds, but we are getting at the stage now where, we are getting at the stage now where we're just going to fix things that are screwed up and add little things to make the painting as nice as possible. So that's the way it's going to go. And again, finding the right brush, and I think that's not going to be complicated because I think this guy is the right one. So I am going to move camera number 1 back here so we can bring it up. There we go. And see where we're at here. Okay, we are on the webcam. So I'm going to go here. Just mix a little bit of water with the gold. Again, nothing extraordinary to see. And that is looking very good, very quickly. So I am probably going to go to camera number 1 for this. I should actually give these cameras names. I mean, instead of 1, camera 2, huh? But anyways, so I am going to go over here like this, okay, and get out of the way and bring this gold here. Very nice. Now these are the kind of details that in the movie or on the camera you cannot see. But trust me, well, maybe not, but I see it and I'm the one who's disturbed by it, so I have to fix it. There we go. I think that will look very nice. Maybe just a little more right here. Et voila. Get rid of the excess. And of course, one stroke too many. Took off the paint that I just put down. There we go. Okay. Step back. And what do we have here? Okay. Well, believe it or not, that made all the difference in the world. That 1/2 millimeter, that 1/16 of an inch made all the difference. Okay, now let's look at the rest of this painting and see what to do next. So, what am I going to do next? Okay, deal with that later. not quite dry, and, well, I have to see. Don't want to make any rash decisions right away. So I'm going to get the green paint ready, and we'll start with the frame. That sounds like a really good idea. And I think I'm going to go with this baby here. This, I'm probably going to have to put 2 coats on as well. So for this, I'm going to get the old party paper plate as a palette. I'm going to clean off all this stuff for just waiting for a catastrophe to happen. Make some room. There we go. Up. Get my knife. Go digging at my paint's about at that height right now. Arrgh. Growl. Okay, let's get the paint out here. And I'm going to need quite a bit. So I might as well get it all now. There we go. Oops, nailed. Okay. Drop some paint on my keyboard. So I'm going to just kind of clean it off right now before it dries. It's to be expected. Oh well, I'm sure it won't be the last time. There we go. Get this out of the way. Now I need a paintbrush that is fairly wide and fairly soft, like this maybe. So here again I'm hesitating between these 2 brushes. They're extremely soft, which means they don't leave any scratch marks when you're putting down the paint. So that's kind of, I'll probably go with this one right here. I'm going to pull this camera back a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to go over here and get this ready. Put this away. Get this guy ready. Okay. Bring this over here. So let me get back to number 1 here. Get out of the way and show you what we're up to. We're just going to make that a lot of green. So we're going to start with this green here, but we're going to darken it in certain places just to highlight, make some shadows. And you'll see it'll look quite beautiful. Get rid of the excess right here on the side. Step back. Yeah, this is another thing about it I didn't mention before, but when is the camera going to be out of focus or not? That's another pain in the neck problem. When you're painting and you have your back to the camera, you don't see what's going on. And if it's out of focus, it's kind of annoying for the viewer. So I scoop all this over here. So I think no matter what I do, I'll need 2 coats. So I might as well make this one nice and thin as to cover the most surface possible. And I'll do it as I go along. Mix the rest as I go along. So, let me pull this back up. There we go. And like usual, I start on the left-hand corner and work my way around. So I'm going to do that right now. And this should go also quite quickly. I mean, this is kind of like a house painting. When I first started this painting, I was thinking that the back of this frame would be red. And for some reason, I can't get away from the greens. My leaves were supposed to be yellow, they're green. I don't know what's with the green. Okay, here I gotta concentrate, don't want to be too sloppy. Even though there will be an outline between the frame and the actual painting. But still, no, that's not an excuse to not do a good job. Okay, that seems to be going down okay. You know what, I'm just gonna maybe play a little bit of music, a little classical music. Sounds like the end of the piece rather than the beginning. Step back for a second. Okay. There we go. Yeah, need a second coat. Yep. There will be a black outline separating all this, so there's no reason for me to be so picky, but somehow, force of habit, I can't help myself and get everything done like this. I also know that the black paint covers so much better if it goes on top of the green rather than if I left a little bit of white. The black paint wouldn't cover the white gesso that well, so I know that from other paintings. That's why I do take the time to when I get to doing the details of this frame, I will staple this so it doesn't curl like it is right now. So maybe I'll take a second to step back and see what this looks like from out front. Okay, very good. Let's continue. Oops, there we go. So, am I going to be in the way? Probably. So I'm going to move this over way to the side. Move that up a little bit. I could actually move it even back because there is no microphone on the camera, so the fan should not disturb it. There we go. And like usual, I'm going to press record. There we go. All set? Okay. Let's do this. Going to have to add a little more of green paint running out. There we go. I'll start with that. See what that brings us. Put that water in there. There we go. Work all this paint out. Nice and fluid. Very good. Okay. Get it out of the way. Very good. Just fill this in before I stop recording. There we go. I'm going to go quickly, but not too quickly. Don't want to splatter paint all over the place. Very nice. Okay. Have a little bit of water. Okay, now let's work it down here. Now I'm hesitant. You know what? I'm going to grab the chair. I have such back problems that I'm going to do it like this, if you don't mind. There we go. Normally I would do this standing up, but I know that if I'm in pain, it would just make me so uncomfortable that I could probably screw up. So I'd rather get comfortable. There we go. There we go. I was kind of disappointed last Saturday because I played my streaming on YouTube, live streaming, and they cut. I was listening to the Grateful Dead, and they actually cut out all the sound of my streaming on Facebook, that is. They're such a pain in the ass, especially when you know that the Grateful Dead have always permitted people to tape their concerts. They even had a whole section in their concerts just for people to tape and make bootlegs. And yet you can't play a concert of them on Facebook. They'll play Trump's tweets of hatred and racism, but they won't let the Grateful Dead go across. I swear. So, look at this. Very good. Coat number 1 done. So let's step back and see what this does for us. Oh yes. Actually, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to even step in the hallway to look from further back. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. I was all the way back here. Let me pull the camera even further back. Like that you can see exactly what I... So, that is the painting seen from behind. I'll turn the camera. Show you a little bit the old Nice, the buildings across. As you can see, not the prettiest place in the world. I keep the windows closed because of the noise. Here, let me bring all this. See if I can't drag this over here. And then here you have Claudine coming up the stairs to say hello. Hello. There you go. And these are basically our staircase. And Claudine is going to her studio, which is one floor. All right. So her studio is right upstairs, where she does sculptures and jewelry, and that is Francois Nazica's studio right there. Anyways, that's a quick view of our hallway here. I did say I would make some sort of a video of all the studios and play it back for you. I haven't yet, but I will. There we go. So, back to the painting, seeing where are we here? Well, the border is definitely not dry, obviously. And this is barely dry, but it is dry. So I am going to go back and just fix little things that bother me. So move that chair back. Find my black paint. There we go. And I'm going to use this brush here. Again, this is the kind of touch-up that nobody will see, at least not on the camera. There. Much better. And I'm going to do the same around the eyeball as well. So, how am I going to do that? I guess I have no choice but to maybe go over here. Go like this. There we go, very good. Again, one of these little details that are maybe just as thick as a hair, but makes all the difference in my opinion. There we go. So I am going to try to stream this on Facebook again, because this time I'm using music that is not copyrighted. Went to a website where all this was open source music, so hopefully I won't be banned, or they won't cut the sound out. And if they do, well, screw Facebook. I actually never go anyways. I've never been as much on Facebook as during the confinement period. And as soon as the confinement period ended, I go back maybe once a week or something like that. And that's about it. Before I was there like 3 times a day. Okay, so how are we coming along here for that second coat of paint? A lot of it is dry, but where I put the paint down thicker, it's still fairly wet. So I have to wait for that. And what can I do? I know exactly what I can do. I'm going to do that right now. And I'm going to do the highlight of the eyeball. So I'm going to get the paint here. Again, I want this to go down in one shot, so I am going to put enough paint and find the right brush especially. So is this the right brush? Or is this the right brush? We're going to go for this guy. So I'm going to go back over here, show you what I'm doing, just mixing in again a little water with the ochre color. You can see the difference of the 2 yellows right there. So we are going for this one here. So again, a little bit of water, try to get that nice creamy texture by pushing and pulling and stirring and blending the water. So it looks like we have a vanilla pudding or something. Caramel, I guess it would be caramel pudding. There, get it nice and, there you go, nice and fat and juicy, full. There we go. Oops, did I miss the whole thing? Well, I guess so. That's what I was mentioning earlier. Got to think about all these little details to make the whole experience work. So I am also going to push record on this, as it's kind of one of the important parts of my painting. And let's go for this. Get the right game. Okay, there we go. Right? A lot of talk just for that. But that's the way it goes. Those are those little details that makes the painter so happy. Okay. So, got that done. Rinse off the brush. And now we're going to step back again, take a look. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to run over here and grab some water. And I'm going to run back to the computer to drink it. Ah, yes. Very good. Okay. Where are we at here? Let's take a nice full view of that. Let's look at it from the front. I know the quality of the webcam isn't quite as good as the two other cameras, but whatever. And I'll come that and get out of the, stop the music for a second. Yes, okay. Okay. Uh-huh. Very good. So, still waiting for that paint to dry, so that is the perfect time to fix up little screw-ups. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just put a tad of cerulean blue with a little bit of white paint to fix up three little spots that are on that face. And hopefully I'm going to be able to get the paint to match, which is not that obvious to do. But anyway, so got that. Here's the white paint. And when I'm talking about two little dots, I mean three little dots. Let me show you right here. Let me get that camera on. And I'm going to zoom in to show you exactly what I'm talking about. It's right here on the cheeks. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but right? There's number 1, number 2, number 3. So, oops, you can't see that number 3, can you? Let me just pull this back by hair. Always want to zoom in too much. So number 3 is right here. Number 2, number 1, I want to fix all 3 of those guys. Again, for this elusive quest of perfection. There we go. And for that, I'm going to take a very tiny brush, because all I'm going to do is put in like what is that, a 1/2 So, first things first, pull the camera back. And I'll just kind of work this paint here like that for you. Just going to take a little bit like that. Just make a little light blue. I have to keep in mind that when this paint dries, it gets darker as well. So that's why I say it's not that obvious. So then again, it is just a dot, right? So let's go up here. It looks like it needs to be just a whisker darker. Yep, that's too light. Even if it does darken up, it's still going to be too light. So make it a little bit darker. Okay. All right, still too light. Okay, let's try it. I'm trying it in other places. That looks like it's going to work. So right there, right there, and right there. Very good. Okay. Now I can breathe again. Those little spots were bugging me. And I am going to step back and take a look at this green and see if it is dry or not. Well, it's not quite dry yet. If it was, I would jump on it, put that second coat. But I can see it's going to still take a while. So you know what? I'm going to end my stream right now. I see it's been an hour and a half. Believe it or not, time flies when you're having fun. So I'm back to this dilemma now of tomorrow being the 14th of July, a French holiday, where I've been invited to several parties and barbecue. So, and I totally forgot about that before. So, am I going to come in and stream tomorrow? That is a good question. You know what? I think I'm not. I'm going to go for the party rather than for the stream. So, anyways, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on today's stream. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I know I have. And I am going to be back day after tomorrow, Wednesday. I'll be here at 9 a.m. I'm going to leave you, like usual, with my schedule. And I'll say